All right.
Unbelievable.
In logic and reason.
Demons.
I'm scared.
Alrighty. Well, let the whatever we're going to call it, commence.
Yeah.
We have,
Fun, I guess you could call it. Let the insanity commence.
Indeed. Yes, this is this should be an interesting evening.
Right.
Well, for those of you who are unaware, somehow Jackson, our special guest there, and I had gone to see a movie. Yeah, we'll call it. It was a movie-ish. All right. Anyway, and
We'll have to take your word for it.
yeah. It's all right. We'll call it a movie anyway. It was called.
Pleased to meet you, Jackson.
It was called.
It had
Yes.
aspects which resembled a movie.
That is correct. That is correct.
It was movie-ish.
Yes, although
Okay.
generally a movie.
Would you say it was was in the movie kind or outside of the movie kind?
Well, see, no one's ever
Pretend
really
either way.
defined the amount of kinds there are. But in any case, this movie was called Alien Intrusion, and essentially, we're not kidding. I mean, you all saw the opening. The premise is, aliens are real, and by the way, just as an aside, they're demons.
Yay.
So,
Yes,
Of
aliens
course they
are more probably demons than extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah.
That's more likely.
absolutely.
I'm sure that when they fell, they got right to work on some spaceships so they could fucking fly around the universe.
Okay.
Jesus, what a fucking ridiculous. Oh my god. All right, let's get into this insanity.
All right. I should mention, just I guess we'll call it housekeeping, and this is not a standard Friday night movie night. We will attempt to keep it clean, shall we?
All right,
Also,
I'll be on my
the fact
best.
that it's not
I can do
Friday
that.
night, so
Indeed.
that kind of does something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can do that. I can be clean.
All right, let's do that then. Very good. Well, why don't we start out with I don't know, inviting a copyright strike by showing the trailer for this interesting adventure, just in case no one believes that someone produced a movie with this premise that aliens are real, and not only are they real, they're demons. Just in case people think
This isn't Trey Smith, is it?
just in case people think Jackson and I are making that up. Here's the trailer. So I hope you find this as interesting as I did. Here we go.
Now, I'm a science fiction fan, and I can tell you the truth is out there, but it's a lot stranger than any science fiction.
It's claimed that over 20 million Americans have seen a UFO.
The Roper poll concluded that up to 4 million Americans had been abducted by aliens.
Drink.
I've been involved in the development of space vehicles for exploration
Can I
for over
drink?
60 years.
Can I do that?
You know, there are massive problems with the
That's for
idea that
Fridays.
advanced aliens
Damn.
can simply warp themselves around the galaxy.
The Starship Enterprise travels at multiple factors of light speed.
Now that would be a drink call. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
The premise
What
was
did he say?
the
Okay, wait, you need to
fictional
hear that
premise
again.
is that it warps space. That is the fictional premise.
Okay, wait, hold on. I need to play that again. My nerd sense is tingling.
Yes,
Yeah, mine too.
I
gotta
caught
hear
it, but
that.
here you go. Here was the claim.
Starship Enterprise travels at multiple factors of light speed.
Okay, that is technically accurate.
Well, if you consider distances only, now admittedly fictional premise of the show of the Star Trek series, warp drive is a warping of space. So although yes, if you divide the distance by the time, you get faster than light travel. The whole concept of warping space in the fictional series is that you don't actually have to travel that distance because you've warped
Yeah,
space.
if I remember
shortly.
correctly, in the actual Star Trek fiction, the way it works is that it treats space-time And the warp drive, like an engine in an atmosphere, it basically takes it instead of having to move through space at the speed of light, instead moves the space so that it doesn't have to travel, in faster than light and break physics.
Exactly,
Because we wouldn't want to go ahead and do that.
Right.
And believe me, I appreciate everybody latching on to this Star Trek point because it delays us having to listen to the foolishness that awaits. I appreciate that.
I'm a bit more of a Star Wars guy, honestly.
Really? Oh, we're
Yeah.
in a.
I'm a Star Trek guy.
We're in opposing religions, then. Hell, I'm more of a Star Trek one. All right. Anyway,
Me too.
let us watch the rest of this just lovely trailer, and they're gonna just. I just want to hear.
That's a good Enterprise model, though.
It is. Here we go.
It is estimated that there are 100,000 dust particles per cubic kilometer of space, traveling at about
Interesting.
1/3 the speed of light. Even a grain as light as a snowflake would be like a pinpoint explosion of 4 tons of TNT.
These alleged aliens coming to us from distant star systems are nothing of the sort. Rather, they are deceptive entities emanating from another dimension.
Meanwhile, in someone's living room.
Yeah, another dimension. So right there, they're giving you the details. You have to understand. They're coming from another dimension. They come from not height, not width, nor depth. They come from none of those three. They come from yet another dimension.
Yeah, a pocket dimension.
Here we go.
These experts tell us that the very laws of physics must be violated if these aliens are to get here from distant star systems. But I'm telling you,
not necessarily.
I've now met hundreds of people who've seen things and even claim encounters with beings, and they've got no explanation about their experiences.
It's understood later why they interviewed those
remember
specific
them.
people.
Right.
Coming into our bedroom, and my
Experiencer.
daughter's crib was at the foot of the bed, and I watched 2 of them come over and pick her up out of her bed. She was so scared.
No, I believe something actually is happening to them.
Because it's one thing to just deny. It's another thing to say, we really understand what you're saying and we believe you had an experience. But here's God's take.
Obligatory book reference.
Pretty damn impressive, I must say.
Ooh, there's the shill.
Indeed. And wait a minute, it didn't come in December. It's not December. Anyway, that was that. And that is all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. As disturbing as that may seem, oh heck, they didn't show the narrator in this, did they? All right, we'll get back to that. Jackson, maybe you could just give us your first impressions of it. No specifics, just your first impression of what you thought.
It was boring. The first thing that comes to mind before any of the science or lack thereof or the experiences was that it was just boring. It was running around in circles for 2 hours before the altar call.
Sounds like Christians.
Indeed, it was. I mean, it was a little on the boring side. I have to agree with you.
I have to say, Genesis Paradise Lost, I thought was at least entertaining. This was entertaining for half an hour. This could have been like, a half an hour special on TV, and that they would have had everything in it. It would have sufficiently covered everything.
Indeed.
No, they had to stretch it out for 2 hours.
Probably correct. And let's see. That's oh yeah. If anybody wants the link, very good. Hill, you're sending Stanley the link.
Oh, not yet. Give me a minute.
Okay. I just saw in the chat that you said you were going to do that. Anyway, all right. So, right now, that was it could have been a lot shorter. I have to agree, but what made it truly interesting was I mean, it was oh well, I might as well say it. The narrator was just amazing, wasn't he? And if you don't recall who that was, it was Bo from Dukes of Hazzard.
No shit.
I kid
I'm
you.
sorry. No crap.
I kid you not. It was Bo. I was expecting Uncle Jesse. There's aliens in the yard. Yeehaw! Get the General Lee out.
I'm disappointed, Bo. I'm disappointed. You ruined my childhood.
Anyway, all right. It seemed to me. Oh, I'm sorry, Jackson. Were you done with your first impressions?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah. I think that sums up without going into any specifics about it.
All right. I will say that looking at the whole thing, aside from the fact that it was just too long for what they actually for information content, that it was stretched way
Absolutely.
out.
Yes. Absolutely.
But aside from that, looking at the whole movie as one piece, it looked like there were a couple of phases involved. The entire beginning segment of the movie seemed to be demonstrating the improbability of interstellar travel. And they went to great lengths to do that. They started with, they had clips from War of the Worlds with Orson Welles' interview when he got into a little trouble for causing all of that, mayhem that ensued from War of the Worlds. And just a bunch of stuff like that. And they basically wanted to equate interstellar travel with fiction, which admittedly, as of right now, in a reasonable time frame, it is. We can't do that right now. So we are good with that. So that was the first phase. They wanted to establish that with the audience, and they did. Next, it seemed the next segment seemed to be focused on the demonstrating.
They were talking about.
What?
That was when they started talking about abiogenesis and panspermia, wasn't it?
Yes. They did slip in some anti-evolution stuff as well, and directed panspermia, if you recall. That was it. They weren't happy with a rock being knocked off another planet and carrying some bacteria. They wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I don't care for the panspermia hypothesis. It really doesn't solve anything.
Right.
But I mean, they were throwing in. Then they went to the abiogenesis can't happen because humans have never created information, therefore nature can't do it for some reason, whatever information is. But who cares about that part?
Yes, the undefined information again. And if Lord Crocosquirrel were there, he would have done his information demonstration with a random string again. That would have countered that nicely. But yes, they did throw in their anti-evolution stuff. And then they spent a great deal of time. I guess they assumed they had convinced people that interstellar travel is improbable.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Do you think they were trying to discredit science? Maybe.
Maybe. Anyway, they covered that interstellar travel highly improbable. Which, admittedly, right now, yep, we're with you. Took a couple of shots at both evolution with abiogenesis. And everything's an accident. Well, no.
Exactly.
Who claims it's an accident?
I hate that argument.
I don't remember claiming that. But anyway. And then, aliens can't come from far away because it's just not possible. Violates laws of physics, etc., etc. Then it was on to the repetition of convincing people that these things are occurring. And that they're, this is to convince people, okay, aliens couldn't come here from way far away, but listen to all these people. They're telling you about these beings that were here. So that was the next phase was that convincing people that whether or not these things are occurring, these things are occurring.
Well, the thing is, though, that it's not difficult to prove that UFOs exist. I mean, it's literally an acronym meaning unidentified flying object. If you see a flying object and you have not identified it, it's a UFO by definition. They're not hard to prove.
Well, their argument, they kind of addressed that. Their argument was whenever people today use the term UFO, they automatically mean it was an alien spaceship from another planet.
Yes.
Well, that's just dumb Americans.
Maybe so. But, and then...
God bless America.
Yeah, and then, you know, once they had established that, and I mean, admittedly, there are a lot of reports of just weird stuff going on, and it would be nonsensical to just dismiss all of them. That you know, all the other possibilities that okay, so it's not aliens, okay, it's not, you know, developing secret aircraft, it's not this, it's not that, demons, it's got to be demons.
Well, I have to say, I thought it was kind of funny. I think they would have done a better job arguing that it wasn't aliens if they didn't have the flyby Washington D.C. bit. Because they're like, all of these have been explained, well, except for a few, like this one. But other than that, we have explanations.
And then they seem to drop that one. I guess just assuming they would assume that people would make the natural connection in the last phase of the film, which was after establishing those premises we just talked about. Heck, there's only one thing left: demons. So
demons.
I imagine they just expected people to make the association, and the Washington one, which it's unexplained. Okay, guess what? Hang out about 30 minutes. We'll give you an explanation.
You know, I'm curious. Did anyone else, when they started mentioning demons, immediately start thinking back to the beginning of Cool Hard Logic and the flying demon pig?
Literally the first thing I thought of.
Anyway, yeah, and the only thing I can think of is that the recent, and we have to call them what they were, the recent successes of the do you remember way back the is Genesis History movie, and then the latest Genesis Paradise Lost. Those were packed theaters when I went to both of those, and we talked about them, you know, here on the channel, of course. Those were packed theaters. We had, and I'm not just saying this to be insulting, this is an accurate representation of what occurred. Counting myself, there were 8 people in a theater. And I'm calling this one a failure. If my theater was representative of attendance throughout distribution of this film, I'm calling it, well, we'll just say not a win. Not a win.
I think it is, because counting Savannah and me, there were 7 people in our theater.
Huh.
You know, see, some people mention that 7, 8 numbers is bad for a movie. For me, that's the perfect viewing experience. But then again, I really dislike a lot of people.
All right.
I must say, I've never had the experience of having a theater all to myself yet, but I look forward to that eventually.
This was darn close. This was really, really close.
It's pretty close.
Savannah and I almost got that with 47 meters down.
Yes.
Oh.
There was like one other couple in there.
We thought we had it with this movie until about 5 minutes before it started.
Yeah.
Then we had to start containing our giggles and groans.
What damn shame.
We groaned heartily over the
at homeschooling.
Yeah, the homeschooling. Yeah, that killed us.
They had very targeted advertisements before our movie.
We had
they were like, we're not even having a pretense of objectivity with homeschooling. We're just going to throw it out there. We are going to teach your kids creationism.
Okay, Lance. Who is Lance? I don't know Lance. Who is Lance? Lance, welcome.
Stocks. You know me.
And he's gone. Okay. Well, joined us for a second. That was kind of cool.
Well,
it's nice to
we're done with that.
Maybe he'll come back. All right. Yeah, John.
If that last name is for who I think it is, yes, they will be back on the popular name.
Okay, then let us see. Oh, somebody's back. Let's see. Oh. Nope, not yet. Okay.
He's what's it called? Ding dong ditching us.
Right.
Exactly.
Now here's the thing. If you are used to regular Google Hangouts, when you use this platform,
it is a lot different.
Platform, it is. And the first couple times I did it, I had to stop up the join because it kept trying to use my school account
Mhm.
instead of my primary account. So that's probably what's going on.
Yeah. Because it sometimes tries to log me into my other account instead of my Unholy Mo account.
Oh, Soundly couldn't get in. Heck. All right. Let's see. I've seen that happen too, where it says you can't connect because of an error or something. Usually from the phone, I've had that. I haven't had that happen from the computer yet. Anyway, well, maybe you can try again in a while and see if it works.
Well, if he was trying for mobile, reboot the app and try again because I'm connected mobile. I was actually wrapping up at work tonight when I saw you go live, and I was like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
What the heck?
So had to take a peek, and then it was like,
heck is where you go if you don't believe in gosh. I saw Jacqueline post that.
We're all going there together. On the heck bus.
You know what? It's going to be a party.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
It really is. All my friends are going to be there.
Yeah. Heaven sounds like a pretty boring place to me, to be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah, down here on Earth, we got all this nice and exciting demon experiences.
Well, hang on. If you go with the Mormon version of heaven, it could actually be pretty cool to be the ruler of my own planet.
Yeah, that would be.
There's that.
I think even Meta did a video on why heaven sounds boring.
It actually just inserting the word eternity into it. It doesn't matter how fun it is. It'll be hell when you get about 10 minutes. You know, how much of eternity before the repetition? How much can you do? Once you do it 100 billion times, it's probably not as wonderful as it was day one. Just eternity is what screws it up.
And that's where some people, when Highlander was a thing and popular for the short time that it was, people were like, oh, it'd be great to be immortal. I could do all this stuff and I'd never age. And it's like, watch everyone you know fade away. It would get very lonely. Well, especially for those of us who have an aversion to the majority of people. So, yeah. No, thanks.
Soundly was in for a second and then dropped out. So I guess there are issues with connecting for some reason. Anyway, all right, Jackson, did you notice the frequent use of the phrase "based on Big Bang"?
Yes,
Many
they
things
lumped
were-
all the non-creationist ideas, processes kind of together. They were like, if you believe in evolution and abiogenesis and the Big Bang, then you got to believe in aliens too. That's the only logical explanation. Not God created them as a side project.
That drives me nuts how Christians always clump all them together, like evolution and abiogenesis and have anything to do with each other. I mean,
indeed. So yeah, the big and now they did a lot of rapid switching in this movie between speakers, and it was hard. I mean, going in, I had all the names of there was a long list of them. I had all the names memorized, but they kept switching them so fast. It got to the point that when I was taking notes, I got like 16 pages of script.
Oh my God.
And
wow, that's a lot of notes.
I referred to, well, here are some of the names. I figured I'd fix them later, but there was no time because just before we started, about a half hour before, that's when I got home from this abomination of a film. So I have names like Beardy Guy. Jackson, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, the
Beardy Guy.
I understood at the very end why they chose him.
Not to be confused with Redbeard. He was the
Redbeard. No, don't confuse him.
And
I was
let's
also
see.
classifying them by their facial hair.
That's
I'm not the only one.
And Hodges did. Dewey Hodges, him I knew. Pastor Jim I knew. Yeah. I'm gonna go through this and correct all the names because I think Beardy Guy was Joe Jordan.
Yes, I think so. I think that's who that was. Wasn't that Joseph Jordan?
Yeah, Joseph.
Okay, I think that's who it was. I can actually probably look it up.
Indeed. And now the one thing, did you detect a lot of quote mining? Because I did not.
Oh, absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
seemed like a lot of the people that were talking have already gone over to the creationist camp. Like the head Mufon guy, because he was talking in full paragraphs. It wasn't one sentence clipped out. That happened to say what Bo Duke agreed with. He was saying whole paragraphs. It seemed like most of the people were in the creationist camp. Did you notice any that were not?
They all were, because I thought Asian guy whose name I forget. I thought he was gonna be. Well, I thought he was on the alien side. Then by the end, you found out he's like, I realized I was wrong. These were not aliens; they were demons.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, we know why you're in here now.
Yeah, that pretty much clears it up for all. That was Norio. What the heck was his last name? I forgot.
Oh yeah, Norio.
Yeah, he was
Nabisco. Was that his last name, Nabisco?
No, he spoke very eloquently too.
Really?
And let's see, who was the other one? Oh, in the notes I have Captain Picard guy. Captain Picard guy was Nick Redfern.
Oh,
don't do that, Captain Picard.
Captain Picard guy.
You know better.
It was
Don't drag him down like that.
That hurts me. That hurts me.
I understand, but all right, you know what? Let's get a. You know what? Let's get a vote there. Right. Hold on. Please hold. Pretend hold music is playing. All right. This was who I wrote down as Captain Picard guy.
I see it too, I guess.
I honestly, I don't.
Cancer patient would have been a better name, though.
Picture
it's
him
like a boiled egg.
Picture him saying, "Make it so." Maybe that'll help. All right. Anyway,
Heisenberg.
That would be.
I think Hindenburg would have been better.
That would be Mr. Redfern there, and that's admittedly I had to whatever before they disappeared off the screen because they were switching like in 30 seconds of speech, next speaker, 30 seconds of speech.
They even switched the main guy, Gary. What's his name? They even switched him between like himself and another version of himself at one point. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's Gary Bates. Gary Bates.
Yes, they switched him and himself at one point. So
intriguing. Anyway.
Oh, sometimes you just got to double down.
And that is what they did. All right, so yeah, Big Bang. The Big Bang is.
They should have named this movie "Close Encounters of the Demon Kind."
Yeah, funny you should mention that because they went over the different kinds of close encounter. And
God.
One is you see something flying around. 2 is the flying around thing leaves evidence like burn marks or a thing falls off. And 3, well, we all know what that is. There's actual little beings bopping around. And 4 is come on with us. So they did.
Well, now here's the thing that came to my mind earlier when they made that whole thing. If you believe it, when they listed off and they ended the list. Big Bang, and then aliens. Crazy thought that some astrophysicists have actually put out there. What if we are the first advanced civilization?
Yeah, that is not a bad argument. It would make the universe an awfully lonely place. I admit.
Got to solve the Fermi paradox somehow.
They mentioned the Fermi paradox.
They misrepresented the Fermi paradox.
Goody.
Misrepresentation in a creationist film? Say it isn't so.
What was it? What was the phrasing they used? They were like, they said, like, if the population of alien groups should like double every million years.
What the fuck?
But then, and they were like, so after 14 billion years, we should be tripping over aliens. And then they were like, that is the Fermi paradox. I was like, that is not what the Fermi paradox is.
That is precisely not. But
that's the opposite.
And once again, I think even if their rate of doubling of civilizations was accurate, I don't think they understand the scale. Either they don't understand or they misrepresented the scale of the universe. Even that.
Actually, I think this is very fitting. I believe it was Gene Roddenberry who once said, "Space is big."
Yeah, I don't think they were getting that specific point.
Yeah, I think Christians have a hard time understanding the logistics of a lot of things. They never want to look at evidence. I mean, like, have you ever noticed, like, when Kent Hovind or Ken Ham are trying to debunk evolution, they use textbooks from the 1980s and early 1990s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I have noticed that, and that's been a drink point on many of our movie nights. That
good times.
RJ finds that hilarious.
I swear I'm starting to get cirrhosis of the liver because of those moments.
Yeah, we may have to.
It's too hard. Well, you know what? I honestly can't blame them for using textbooks from the 80s because textbooks from today are way too expensive. Just look at these things. And you know what? They do a little update, and this is coming from a college student. They do a little update one semester, and then they're like, okay, we got to charge more for this book than we did last semester.
And you must have this edition.
Version.
Because we're going to make the exam questions specifically. Hey, Paul's coming. Here we go.
Hey, Paul.
Welcome, Paul.
Don't even get me started on that whole revisions of textbooks every year.
There we go. They jumped like 2 versions for the biology textbook, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was like in 1 year they jumped 2 versions. It was the 9th edition in my first semester, and then by the next fall semester, it was the 11th edition, and we were like, "What the frick?"
And they do a great thing where they pair the homework, so you have to buy an access code to your homework, which is about $80 on top of the textbook, and it's textbook specific, so you have to buy the edition to get the access code.
Yeah, it's like a racket. Anyway,
Yep.
You know what? To wrap up the Big Bang
I had
stuff.
to deal with that with my chem class.
Oh, fun! To wrap up the Big Bang stuff, Beardy Guy. Remember, he brought up that Big Bang is not science because it defies causality, and and then the universe must have a cause. Well, I was unaware that.
No, it doesn't.
I was unaware that just making an assertion makes something true. I did not know this. But so says.
Hang on. I know the cause of the universe to exist. That's all the cause you need to exist.
There you go.
There, problem solved.
Okay. Indeed. Let's see what other interesting. There were quite a few face-palming moments in this.
You don't say.
Film.
Yeah, I mean they just kind of summarily dismissed the entirety of the Big Bang. They were like, "Well, everything needs a cause, so the Big Bang is foiled."
Pretty much.
And I'm entirely dismissing a concept offhandedly. Say it ain't so.
Yeah, and see, with the whole causality argument, I'm a little confused by that, because isn't there a temporal element to causality that generally cause precedes effect, and weren't we kind of lacking a temporal element prior to the hypothesized Big Bang? I mean,
but they're also completely ignoring all of the millions of Christians who just say, "Yeah, God was the cause of the Big Bang."
Well, Paul, to be fair, ignoring millions of things is kind of part of the job description.
All right.
I mean, obviously, you can just say God did it at any point, but back it up to God did the Big Bang. Like it's
Yeah, indeed.
I've been here 90 seconds and I'm angry.
But then they fall into that whole God of the gaps argument, and they hate it when you point out that that's what they're doing.
I think they would have gone to the if you can't trust, or it's like, how can you trust Jesus if you can't trust Genesis? I think they would have gone to that.
Believe it or not, I didn't get to God of the Gaps until exiting the theater. I ran into some genuine creationists in the wild, and we conversed. But we'll get to that later. That's let's see.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, it was fun.
So I'm gonna try not to ask too many questions. I know I missed a lot of stuff, and you probably talked about how sexy Bo Duke was doing, but I just how this was Creation Ministries International. Which ministry put this out?
It was CMI. Yeah.
Okay. Good enough. That's all. All right. Carry on.
And
good old CMI.
And they lacked the production value that we saw in the 2 previous films. I think they had hoped to jump on the bandwagon, but I think they jumped a little too slowly, and that ship had sailed. Let's see. Oh yeah. Beardy Guy did Life Evolve by Chance, again equating everything with chance as opposed to chemistry and physics, which kind of has a hand in it.
So I think I would have to disagree on they missed the ship. I think there will probably be a market for creationist movies for a long time. I think this movie was just crap.
So wait, Si, are you saying that spaceship had sailed?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, is Genesis History and Genesis Paradise Lost, I found entertaining in a weird way. This was not even entertaining.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. This specific movie.
Not even entertaining.
Yeah. This specific movie, they missed the bus entirely. They wanted to jump on the creationist film bandwagon, and they were unsuccessful. It was just not. It lacked that entertainment. Like in the last one, Genesis Paradise Lost, having a film that had Banana Man in it, speaking, and then showing the Garden of Eden with bananas hanging on a tree. I mean,
you're never going to get over that, are you?
No. How could they not catch that? But anyway, yeah.
But anyway,
let's see.
Well, the T-Rex was eating human garden watermelons before agriculture was a thing. So.
Of course, and you need those conical ripping teeth to stalk those deadly pumpkins. All right, let's see. What other interesting things did we?
I want to watch that Jurassic Park movie.
All right. Let's see.
Turns out they're just after fruit.
Right, so abiogenesis conflated with chance. A Hoyle quote, of course, because no discussion of abiogenesis is complete.
Yeah. God. Fred Hoyle, yep. Because we really care nowadays what Fred Hoyle thought.
Indeed.
Years and years and years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
I think they indirectly referenced the Ben Stein Richard Dawkins interview. I think they very indirectly referenced it.
I missed that.
They were talking about how they said atheists think it's more probable that aliens founded life on Earth than a god did. And I was like, that sounds like a familiar trope.
Right.
Well, you know what though? If I had to pick, now I don't assert that aliens, like in the movie, and Jackson will tell you, I'm not making this up. When they were talking about directed panspermia, they had a spaceship land and a little green fella trot out with a conical wine bottle and pour stuff.
On.
I know, really.
Nope, that happens. He pours the liquid into a pool. And that seeds life, evidently.
Well, that's certainly one way of interpreting that.
Now, I'm not saying that I support directed panspermia, because I don't. There's the same problem that exists with interstellar travel. It's just, anyway, large distances, why would they bother? Let them fuss with their own planet, if they exist. That kind of thing. But atheists would more easily believe in directed panspermia than a god doing it. Well, does it really? If you had to pick between those two, wouldn't you pick the one that at least is arguably possible? Like that based on the mechanisms we see now, could happen. I'd say you wouldn't be that far off base to choose that one. If you were forced to pick between directed panspermia and God did it, one has at least a hint that it could happen. Not that I'd want to be forced to make that choice. But anyway, yeah, so, alien trots off a ship with a conical wine bottle and pours stuff into the ocean. Poof, life. That's what atheists believe.
So what I hear you saying is they are denying the whole aspect of plausibility in our rational thought process.
Something of that sort. Something of that sort, exactly.
That's how the movie Prometheus started. With the engineers, pouring life all over the galaxy. So is this movie better or worse than Prometheus?
This was worse than...
Categorically worse.
This was worse than driving thumbtacks into your forehead, Paul.
Oh.
Stepping on a Lego. It is worse than that. Maybe.
I didn't like Prometheus, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. This movie went to the Prometheus school of running away from things.
Okay.
All right, let's see. We already covered the Washington UFO nonsense. The interdimensional hypothesis.
I have to say, before we completely are past the Washington thing, it's like that was the one thing that makes me think maybe there are aliens. I know the whole point of this was like to dispel aliens, but then they lay out this whole case like we saw this completely unidentified set of objects repeatedly, and I was like, well, doesn't that kind of defeat this whole case then?
Agreed, but keep in mind they had to show. Well, no, that was to their cause. They just placed it wrong in the film. That was to their cause because they wanted to demonstrate that interstellar travel is fiction in the beginning of the movie, and then they wanted to demonstrate that these things that people think are aliens are in fact showing up. They did want to demonstrate that. So mentioning the Washington event does fit into their goals. They just placed it wrong in the movie. It was like we said before. It left you hanging. Like, okay, so you're saying there were flying ships hovering around Washington, and now back to let's talk about demons. So
yeah, they never revisited it to reconcile it with it being demons.
Yeah,
no, they didn't.
Indeed. So I tell you, I did enjoy the because for the life of me, if somebody had asked me prior to going to see this, I did learn something. If someone had asked me prior to going to see this thing what the different levels of close encounter are, I would not have known. And now I know. So, I mean, I did learn something. All right.
Glad you acquired such useful knowledge.
Yes, that'll come in handy. All right. And Norio...
That way when you're abducted, you'll know exactly which form of close encounter you're experiencing.
Absolutely. And if you remember, early on, Norio was talking all sciencey, and later he's making the assertions that these things that are here that are unidentified are acting in a way that is not consistent with aliens visiting from elsewhere because they appear and disappear. And when they take off, theoretically, into space, they don't do it as such a craft would. They just disappear quickly, thereby making the argument that if you were thinking it's aliens, it couldn't be because alien vessels would not behave in this way. So that's when you started to get the idea that he was not the counterpoint. That early on in the movie, I thought he was the counterpoint that everyone was going to be working against. He wasn't.
Yeah. No, they all ended up in the altar call at the end, didn't they?
Yes, exactly. And that was the surprising thing, is that this movie was blissfully free of quote mines. The folks that were talking were in the camp, and they were allowed to say what they had to say without having their paragraph truncated to just say what Bo Duke wanted them to say. So
now
it's not
curious.
a very comfort film, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I'm curious. The guy who was saying, "Well, it can't be aliens because the craft wouldn't move like that." If they're aliens, they have technology to vast distances. I highly doubt their craft will react anyway close to what we experience at this point.
Oh yeah, that was just it was an assertion that was made for the audience who I know this none of the 7 people that I saw were shaking their heads. No, you're going too far now. No, they accepted it. He said it, they accepted it. But that specifically was a turning point where Norio basically came out as no, he's supporting this. He's not the counterpoint. He's not the evil atheist scientist who's going to say a bunch of things and everyone's going to explain why that's not the case. He was firmly in the camp, and he basically ended up saying the same thing as everybody else. Ooh,
Can I go on record and say that weep for humanity? At this point, I'm just like, fucking whatever.
Yeah, and wait till you hear what is as evidence. See, a lot of these things were discovered, especially with respect to the abductions, by abductees being hypnotically regressed. Now, now
that's just like to see.
I'm good with the. I'm good with that technique as a. Well, the hypnotism, lowering of inhibitions, and all that sort of thing, and I'm good with that as a learning experience or as a therapeutic. But you cannot.
Or a parlor trick.
You cannot use it as evidence. All right, as a parlor trick, you can't use it as evidence. If you could use it as evidence, how many Cleopatras do we have walking around today? I mean, it's just the whole.
Memories are way too malleable.
Exactly. The past lives camp uses this all the time. And
yeah, remember the satanic scare back in the 90s? Was it the 90s? Or late 80s?
I don't recall specifically.
Anyway. But you know what I'm talking about, where they had a bunch of people, they regressed, and they all thought that they had been abused as children by satanic cults and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, there was a spate of that sort of thing, and I don't... now, let's not say that there are not oddball groups that are engaging in that kind of behavior.
I would never say that. There's nuts out there.
Because they gotta go, and we gotta find them. So...
Right. There's nuts out there. But I'm just saying a lot of it is just...
the hypnotic regression thing, it's too easy. Even the most well-intentioned... the most well-intentioned interviewer... Even if he tries not to guide, he or she tries not to guide the conversation, it's I can't say that's evidence for anything. And they brought it up 2 or 3 times as basically evidence of these things occurring. So anyway, that was fun. All right, what else? What other fun things do we have? Jackson, if you have any points that you scribble down that you want to bring up, feel free while I scan the documents here.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny because, you know, it must have been interdimensional travel. All those other dimensions, you know.
Yeah, I agreed.
Whatever.
I agree. I do find that amusing, and we should just stick to one definition for dimension. They're talking about it as a place. Listening to that movie,
it's like the Sliders. You know, they go to a new dimension every episode or whatever.
Yeah, and that definition is not really the definition of dimension. I mean, one could, to simplify it for the for the common man, let's just or woman. Let's not be sexist.
Let's call it the clown pocket.
They could just think of a dimension as a direction of travel. That's it, and leave it at that. And adding another direction of travel doesn't make it a whole new place. So, if they're describing a dimension as like a room somewhere, so I found that a little disturbing. But this was one. Irony, anyone? This is I guess I should have saved that irony, anyone, until after I told you guys what the hell I'm talking about, shouldn't I?
Yeah,
all right.
Probably.
Well, here it comes.
I completely agree. So much irony.
Yeah, absolutely. The UFO communities offer acceptance.
Oh, yep.
They say we believe you, and you become an ambassador for their entity. That's the point where I scribbled down irony, anyone?
Oh yeah, I actually turned to Savannah at that part, I think, and I said, if we just replaced aliens with angels, it would be a Christian, just Christian, completely. You know, because everyone, there are whole books on these true experiences that people have had with aliens, and you just go to church and you're like, I saw an alien, and they're like, by God, you saw an alien. And I use a Southern accent, even though not all Christians are here in the South. Even though there were a lot of them, but yeah, it was ridiculous. There was no sense of self-reflection in any of them.
No,
it's like we can't possibly relate to this. It's totally different.
That was the moment of irony at which I stifled the giggles, and I'm not what you would call a giggler, but when they came out with that, giggling occurred. So anyway,
but that makes total sense from like when I used to be one of them. That you would their whole gospel, their whole Bible, their whole book all relies on that. People who witness really unusual things are telling the truth. Their whole narrative relies on that. So, and often, skeptics will throw back, well, do you believe, and everyone who says UFOs, that's a counter. So it makes sense that they would want to water down that you probably
now they can say
accept
yes.
all those people. Yeah. Cause they're deep. Yeah. I mean, I get it but it would have been a strategy that I understand well. Yeah.
And see, that's funny. They're talking about these UFO communities using this strategy when that's basically how any cult sucks you in. And I am maybe unfair, but I'm lumping in these guys with under the any cult category. If anyone thinks that's unfair, let me know. I'll retract it.
Not unfair at all. They say we're a cult.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh, and what did
people who never have rituals or practices or normal meeting places, except the internet, I guess.
Yeah, that's our church, Church of the Logical. Let's see. What was it? Schneider represents. Oh, but how aliens control abductees' perceptions. That was another interesting one. Through the I did write down all the steps. And they mentioned the classic abduction syndrome. Remember that part? That all of these involve capture, examination, conference, tour, journey. What the hell did I write here?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Theophany, is that a word? Theophany. That's anyway.
Yeah, that was they ascribed it to like a religious experience.
Yeah, then return and aftermath, and that was that. This was supposed to be in support of that these beings are grabbing people. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
Sorry.
That's okay. You had something to add. Please go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say that reminded me. Because they're talking about they ascribe it to a spiritual or pseudo religious experience, and they say all these people they might call themselves Christians. And I leaned over to them and I said they're not real Christians.
Oh yes.
These people, they don't actually know Jesus.
Yes, the no true Scotsman thing came up when they said that these things, which they had already, for their audience, they believe they had already established it as their demons. And the reason, the true Christians don't get bothered by these things. And the Christians that do get bothered by these things, they were, and this was the phrasing they used in the film, talk the talk Christians. See, that's what they were. The walk Christians, they don't get bothered by aliens. Only talk the talk Christians.
Yeah.
So
Savannah said the lukewarm Christians.
I felt bad. There was one guy who had experiences or whatever, talking about how he had to truly come to know Christ to be able to fight off these demons. And he said, well, if you become a Christian, eventually it will stop. And I felt so bad because I was like, this guy, he thinks he's really believing in this and giving it his all. And if he still experiences it, that's a direct threat to his a self-identity as a real practicing, Bible thumping Christian. I was just like, God, that's got to be hard to have your identity threatened through an experience you can't necessarily control.
And Pleiades and Nim, that was Pleiades and Nim. Those points you were asking about are covered under examination. They actually mentioned that in the film, not as you mentioned it. They didn't actually use the word probing, but yes, that's covered under the second after capture examination.
There was the one guy who he said it felt like there was a pole up his rectum.
Yeah, yes, he was lifted on the pole.
Yeah, he was lifted off the bed. That's right.
They made him. Yes, the alien / demons apparently made him into a human sickle, and
a shish kebab. Yeah.
Indeed. And yeah, and this was all under the examination phase of the abduction. Anyway, now I can't claim that all these people who this is what they're reporting, I can't claim that nothing bad happened to them. And as a matter of fact, there's evidence that something bad has happened to them. Who are we to say they're all attention seekers or something of that sort? But I honestly don't think it was demons. I think I'm safe in saying that.
What I wonder about is the people who go into that sort of detail. How much of it is just a latent desire?
Again, a good argument.
Or demand characteristics, yeah.
Indeed. And here's one. Dr. Richard McNally, sorry. Dr. Richard McNally said something that I found rather interesting. He said, belief in a traumatic event will show the same symptoms as a real traumatic event. In other words, for some reason, right dead center in this movie, they put up a guy who said, if they're imagining all this, but they believe it, we have no way of telling whether it happened or not. That's what that's what this quote said, and I don't think that's what they meant to say right in the middle of the movie. It kind of, well, it doesn't really put out the fire, but dims it quite a bit.
You're right. I mean, it's up there with the Washington D.C. aliens. It's kind of a smack to the face, right? Right during the movie. You'd think someone. Well, I say you think someone would watch it and proof it, but then we saw Genesis Paradise Lost, and they made two contradictory arguments, one right after another, and no one caught that. So,
which one are you referring to?
The one. Well, there were two. There was one about light, and then there was one about DNA. One guy, I think it was Charles Jackson, said it doesn't matter if. He said it doesn't matter if our DNA is similar to chimps because that's just the way God made us. And then they had the microbiology guy immediately after say, "I don't believe." What did he say? I don't believe that statistical similarities in genetics mean anything. Or something.
Yes.
And I lost my mind.
Make up your mind, guys. All right. Yeah. And let us not forget that abductees report that crying Jesus will make the entity split and scream in pain. I paraphrase.
What? I think you may have broken up there for a second, or reality may have cut out for a second there. What was that?
It's the second one. Reality was suspended. If you have, just keep this in mind. Important safety tip for all of you and everyone listening. If you're abducted by an entity, notice we're not calling them aliens anymore, which, okay, I'm cool with that. If you're abducted by an entity, if you cry out for Jesus, the entity will split and scream in pain. Now, to me, I may be reading too much into this, but this doesn't sound too far off from what would be classified as one of those sleep paralysis occurrences where you don't know what it is. You never heard of sleep paralysis. You're partially in a dream state. You can't move, but you know you can't move, and things get a little spooky.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yes, latching on to something that you have a firm belief in.
And then all of a sudden something gets shoved up your butt. It just happens.
Now, does that still work if I'm picked up an entity like the FBI or the cops? Can I yell Jesus and they'll run away?
Let me know if that occurs. Report back.
I'm a little old to be trying that nowadays, but I don't think it would work.
I
gave up my criminal career.
Good. Although I have to say, Mole, we'd all find it hilarious. Just fill us in. Jackson.
My thought on that was they were simply replacing one belief with another. Like they had a belief in aliens, so they just replaced it with Jesus.
And therein, therein lies.
It was like, there's like they didn't really think about it. How they were just like, well, no, Jesus is different because reasons.
I think they did think about it.
You've ever noticed?
I think they did think about it quite a bit. I think the producers of this film noticed the flagging attendance in churches, and noticed that there is a community of almost a UFO religion, and gave it some thought and said, you know, we could convert all these guys without telling them anything they presently think is false, just that they're misinterpreting it. We could get all these guys into the pews with their wallets. I think that was at least a small part of this film, what they wanted to do. So, all right. Let's see what else we got. Anything else interesting in here? Christians who still have alien trouble are not real Christians. Yeah, we covered that.
Alien trouble. That's an interesting way of phrasing that.
Yeah,
but it's like they have mice or something. Man, we have alien trouble. I got traps set and shit, but it doesn't seem to work.
What's the matter with you? I got aliens.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got a freezer in my closet. That doesn't help at all.
Yeah, and Redbeard picked it up again. You can chase them off by rebuking them in Jesus' name. Rebuking. Why do you have to? Okay, why do you? I
hate that word, rebuke.
Why do you have to talk so funny if you want to be religious? Why do you have to? Why do you have to rebuke someone instead of just telling them to beat it? Why does it have to be rebuking all the time?
Yeah.
All right.
Rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to leave now. I've been rebuked.
It's part of the mandate. When you buy into the King James version, you gotta half-cocked the entire time.
Oh, you gotta speak the lingo too, right?
Yep.
Let's see.
Yes, sir.
That's right. They went into they elaborated on the not real Christians thing because they Bates went into the the Sons of Siva. See, I wasn't familiar with that reference. I don't know if any of you are biblical scholars in your spare time or not.
The seven sons of Sceva, the Jewish chief priest.
Yes, that they went out.
All right, Paul, calm down.
Yeah, Paul may have something to add on this. Apparently, they went out to banish demons, and in the movie, they said they were making. Well, Paul, fill us in. Would you tell if you know? Tell us who they are.
Exercise demons as you do.
I believe the Seven Sons of Sceva. No, hold on. I don't. I just remember though they were a collection of dudes. My Bible. Let me look for a sec. Continue your story. Just let me refresh myself for 1 sec.
All right. Anyway, they went out to. Apparently, these sons went out to banish demons that were hassling people in their flying saucers. I guess I don't know. Anyway, and they were not successful, and apparently they were beaten quite soundly by these demons, and this was because they were not Christian. You see, they were
Pharisees.
Okay. There's no need to bring soundly into this. I'm sure he meant well.
Right after I said it, I said I should apologize for that. Anyway, and
so the story went that they weren't faithful enough. Sorry, so these guys went out.
Mm-hmm.
They actually encountered actual demons, and the demons themselves were too strong. They said, "Paul, we recognize, and Jesus, we know, but you, we don't know who you are." Was what the demons said to them.
Yeah,
and then and then they got the crap beat out of them. But it all worked out for good because everyone in town was so scared they burned all their books about magic. Is how that story ends.
All right, so there's a happy ending.
Yes, there's a happy ending. This is in Acts
Happy for
19,
them.
if anyone wants to look it up. It's
All
short,
right.
but yeah, anyway.
Who
Go
doesn't
ahead.
Who doesn't like a happy ending? What could be better? All right. Let's see. Oh, and right after that story, they came out with what is it about Christians that aliens don't like?
Oh yeah, because only Christians and atheists are visited by
That is-
aliens. No one of any other religion. No Muslims, no Hindus,
Do they,
or
now,
Buddhists.
first of all, if there
the best
were
question I've heard here.
if there were aliens, are they also beings of God, or were they made by God, or is there another God across the universe? I mean, I don't
See,
I don't understand. You know,
it's possible I don't know enough about religion in general, the various sects and denominations and all that sort of thing. But I found myself wondering that okay, you gotta call Jesus, and Jesus, just the name makes all the demons split. Okay, all right, let's accept that for a moment. Now, here's the question.
I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
I have a question. Has anyone other than myself here read Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata?
Only sections of it.
Yeah, only parts. Not the whole thing, though.
I believe you have
The
something
reason
to
why
add
I
from
bring
that.
it up.
Yes.
The reason why I bring it up is because the Hindu gods fly around in Vimana. They're flying fucking spaceships. They
Cool.
are worshipping aliens by direct
Oh.
translation.
Well, yeah, they point out. They say like Native Americans. There were like canoes in the sky.
Flying
and
canoes,
ancient
yes.
Greeks saw these shielded flying things. I actually found. Let's see. I went and I looked it up. Do Muslims believe in aliens? Dr. Yasir Qadi. And oh my goodness, this looks interesting. I'll have to send you guys a link to this.
Oh, actually, that was a. Right. Okay, that was you just brought something to memory. I had to flip a few pages ahead in my mad scribblings from the movie. You mentioned the Muslims there. They dissed both the Mormons and the Muslims. Because,
right, they did. Oh,
because
yeah.
what happened to them, you see.
What was the reason for that?
Yeah, what happened to them, you see, is remember all these aliens are in fact demons, and if you demons are what? They're angels who were on the wrong side when everything went to hell in a handbasket. So both John Smith from the Mormons and see the Muslims fell victim to the same thing. They met fake angels.
That's right, because. They said the Book of Mormon and the Quran were substitute Bibles, even though both the Mormons and the Muslims acknowledge the Bible is true, at least for the most part.
Right.
That's something I've encountered in my modern church back in the day. Even though there's a living God who can communicate with you through divine revelation, if he does actually do that, then it's a demon, because the Bible is the only way to communicate with God.
Indeed.
Have you guys ever noticed how Christians loathe the idea that Muslims worship the same God that Christians do?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I explained to them, I'm like, look, he's the Abrahamic God. It's the same God. They're like, oh no. Nope, he's totally different. I'm like, whatever, guys, whatever.
Indeed. Well, you want your club to be the one. Go ahead, Jared.
Here's another thing that a lot of fundy Christians don't like. The name Jesus often in the Quran than it does in the New Testament.
Not commonly mentioned. That's a good point. I don't remember hearing Ken Ham bring that up. So let's all right. Yeah, so the Mormons and the Muslims, it's another case of my invisible man in the sky is better than your invisible man in the sky, even though in this particular case it's the same invisible man in the sky.
Right. Sky Wizard.
Indeed. Let's see. What else?
It's a pretty good magic trick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Oh yeah, and the UFOs are capable of conditioning humans. That was thrown out there near the end.
What kind of conditioner is it? Like mint or
something involving lavender, as I understand it.
Lavender and tea tree oil.
Oh, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah. And
yeah, not misremembering details. It was the aliens or demons who reconditioned the people.
Indeed, and
because all of their experiences were
yeah. Of course, we got to recondition. Lather, rinse, repeat.
I think it's kind of interesting. They assumed like the experiences were in their totality accurate. Like no detail of this was like added over time.
Right.
I do like the idea of galactic beauticians.
I'm sorry. What bothered me is that some of these reports of these traumatic experiences, like I said before, I don't doubt that for some of these people that some traumatic experiences actually occurred, but they don't even entertain the possibility that something else really bad happened to these people.
It was a bad trip
that they don't want that they can't admit even happened. So it's aliens or demons or whatever. And that does happen. People repress things that are too horrible to let to the surface. And
when it's really Uncle Charlie and not a demon or a alien all along.
Yeah, and when such thoughts assert themselves, there may be a tendency, and I'm not a psychologist, but there may be a possibility that, okay, the thought's not going away, it's asserting itself. Well, right. Maybe we can't make it go away. Maybe we can convert it into something a little less threatening to our everyday lives. So I think we're doing these people a disservice by not trying to help them with the root problem. What traumatic event, what it really was that has changed their life so drastically. And just saying, it's demons, come to church, pay up.
Yeah, that's the problem too. Like Steve Anderson, I absolutely hate him. He's the most vulgar person I've ever met, or no, I didn't meet him, but I've ever seen him. He didn't he's a Holocaust denier, and he says there's no mental illness; it's demons that are inhabiting bodies. Like you're doing more damage to these people than good. Like if they have a chemical imbalance, why can't they go to a doctor and get help? What is your issue, dude? And I don't know. I hate it.
So this UFO stuff was described in the film as a competing religion. So it sounds like you're saying that this individual would describe modern medicine as a competing religion. As a competing religion. So, all right.
Oh, he hates everybody.
All right. Let's see. What else? What other fun stuff? We're getting near the end of it. I've skipped over the stupid stuff. And keep that in mind. I have skipped over the stupid stuff. That means that which you heard is at the higher end of the spectrum of what Jackson and I experienced.
Well, I think you're drawing a bit of a false dichotomy there, Sai, between stupid and. I think you're drawing a strange dichotomy. You're saying just because it's not the most stupid that it's not the stupid stuff.
I, for one, came here for the stupid stuff. I am rather insulted and hurted.
I'm all about the stupid.
That you would withhold from us the stupid stuff. Seems unfair.
That's right.
Lucky for you.
That could be the motto for Friday night.
Lucky for you.
I came for the stupid stuff.
They're probably going to be coming out with a DVD any minute now. It'd be hilarious if they tried a round 2.
I look forward to that.
If they try
I'm so sorry I missed this film.
Wait, Sai, is some of the stupid stuff the Kirk Cameron commercial prior to the movie?
See, that's the weird part. In the theater that I visited for this fabulous cinematic experience, the movie was supposed to start at 7. It did not. Nothing appeared on the screen until about 10 minutes after 7. And at that point...
What's the problem?
What did appear on the screen in the lower left-hand corner would be familiar to anybody that knows Microsoft, was a start button. So
that's funny.
Anyway, so we had no coming attractions. I didn't know no commercials. So I've been to the 2 other films. It's not coming attractions. It's all commercials for the Ark Park and this and stuff like that. Jackson, you're going to have to fill us in on the commercials that came before because we received none at this theater.
Oh, man.
They probably edited the movie on Windows Movie Maker or something.
I actually wouldn't be surprised, given the quality of that movie. I'm not surprised at all.
Well, I will say why we had the Jackson. If I could just let me just mention why we had the start button is I was told on the way out by two of the attendants that the reason we saw that is that this movie was being received by satellite transmission. It was not in fact a reel up in the projection room or some sort of large capacity data drive that was brought with the film in digital format, that was being received by satellite, and they were having some issues getting it started. That's what they said.
Let me guess. By satellite, sponsored by SETI.
That
makes sense because they didn't turn down the lights in our theater until halfway through the movie.
Oh, see, that would have helped me.
Oh, God.
That would have helped me because this was another dark movie like the last one, and I had to put my nose up against the notebook to see what the heck to stay within the lines. But anyway, so Jackson,
in fairness, just having worked in the film industry, that's not unusual for these kind of Fathom events or whatever, or when they have like MMA or Ultimate Fighting stuff like live. It's pretty typical. That's not necessarily a slight. The fact that they chose that technology is not necessarily a slight on the entertainment value itself.
I feel it would be.
It's not a good sign, but it's not. Anyway,
the commercials were just as cringy as the movie itself, if not more.
I saw none of them. Fill us in, please.
Ridiculous. I mean, we told you guys about the homeschooling commercial where
3 separate ones.
Oh yeah, there were 3 separate ones where they were like, "Here's this magazine that has a picture of a church on it. Was it Old Schooling?
Yes.
Old Schooling magazine." And we were like, "Yeah, they're not even pretending to be objective. They're like, we were going to teach our kids about Jesus." And there was a Kirk Cameron movie coming out in the near future, I guess, about him going to war against the social media, the Facebook and the Twitter. Yep, all of it. Because he's like, it's like kids are addicted to this, and one kid got called fat, so we have to go to war with it now.
And they did show an interview with the kid who had contemplated suicide or something like that. Kid's probably 17, 16 years old. And I was just like, oh man, this is going to be really targeted material.
Yeah, it's like the Ray Comfort.
They know what they're going for.
Yeah, the Ray Comfort movie about suicide. Like, this movie is going to do more harm than good.
Right.
Although, but yeah, there was and then of course it was a bunch of different ones of Gary, good old Gary, and he was like, hey, Fathom Events is pretty cool. Check out some of their stuff they've done. And also buy my book.
I'm kind of curious to what the numbers would be to teens that can't live up to their parents' expectations religiously on their suicide rates. I wonder what the numbers are like.
I do not know. That's but now, admittedly, the war against social media. Let us admit that social media is not always the best idea because, as we all know, any wacky idea you have, you'll collect a group around you that will be supportive of your wacky idea. And this is dangerous for people that are thinking of self-harm in some way because they'll attract a crowd that supports them in this bad decision. So I admit social media, there are dangers. But
that as a youth who attended Southern Baptist Church, the coping mechanisms that we were being taught through church and through the more religious parents in our community were not useful coping mechanisms. It was always just throw it away, get away from it. And so I would be anxious to see if this movie actually says something of value.
Yeah, did they pretty much say ignore it, let God fix it kind of thing?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get off of it, pray to God, get your relationship with Him right, and then it won't hurt you.
Go out surfing.
You won't care about what these people think.
Yeah, they were like, let's go surfing, kids. Let's go on a family vacation.
That is what they showed in the preview. As soon as it was like, we're going to fix our kids' social media presence, everyone was outdoors.
Yep.
In the next shot.
Yep, that is their solution. We get off the interwebs forever.
Yeah, don't think for yourself, kids. God will figure it out for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, last thing we want is unrestricted communication. That's awful. Free-flowing ideas? Oh, none of that. We will not have that.
If you pull out the wrong block, everything will come tumbling down, so we can't have you learning anything.
Exactly, the cosmic Jenga game. All right.
Yep.
And then on to the panel interview at the end. That Jackson, I think you said you tried to stay through the whole panel.
I'm sorry, we did not have the fortitude to stay through their unplanned talk. We couldn't make it.
Yeah, I have said before, and this is just more evidence. You are a smart man.
I don't know about that, but I was ready to leave midway through the movie, only to realize that there was another half.
What was the running time of the film?
A little over 2 hours.
2 hours.
That seems to be
kidding.
seems to be the trend, and it could have been done in 20 minutes. Like a Saturday morning cartoon would have covered it. There was no
Aliens
need for
or demons, because that would have covered it.
Pretty much.
That's the synopsis.
Pretty much.
Have you heard of this thing before Eric sent out his email last week? Like, I'd never heard of this.
I only heard of it yesterday, late, because I was looking through
when
emails.
Eric sent out the email, right?
Yeah. Did you get that as well?
Yeah,
we checked the
Eric Hovind?
Oh yes, Eric Hovind. I got an email, an email indicating that this movie was coming out. He had to have been pushed into sending that to support, take one for the team, like I told everybody on Twitter I was doing tonight. I don't think.
You know what I found out about this film?
What'd you find out?
When I found out about it?
Oh, when?
Halfway through the hangout.
This morning, when I woke up and saw that you'd messaged me about it.
Oh, with the red alert?
Hey, you're going to see this film, right?
Yeah, that's...
You know what was strange is that we looked up the trailer for it, and the trailer says, January 2nd, 2017.
The one that we watched at the beginning of this, they must have updated it because it says December of 2017, and it only came out today, so somebody's not paying attention. But
I was like, what? How is that even... How did they do it that early? What were they doing?
And this did not have the production value or entertainment content of either Eric Hovind's adventure or Ken Ham's adventure before that. It just didn't. So I strongly suspect that Eric was compelled to send out that he said, look, we're all on the same team here. You promote this movie or you're out of the club.
Yeah, no more Battleship apologetics for you, buddy.
We'll put you with your dad.
So this was John Schneider, right?
Yeah, Bo. It was Bo Duke.
Yeah. So this film isn't even on IMDb. That's how good it is.
Oh, goody. But all right. So Jackson was smart enough to walk out on the panel discussion because, as he mentioned, he said, unscripted or whatever it was. You may have noticed he said it in kind of a funny way. Like, if you could speak in italics, that's what he did. I believe that to be accurate because, first off, it was a 3-person panel. It was Bates, Joe Jordan, and Rob Carter. 3 people, right? That's who's on the panel. And
the biologist who's done one thing in biology in his life.
Right. And Joe Jordan, who was on the panel, he wasn't sitting there. He was a screen behind, he Skyped in or something. So already we're like, you're having a panel, and you're gonna have a location. You can't get everybody there anyway. So 3-person panel, completely unscripted. We're just gonna talk about stuff and things. That's what we're gonna do. Then Norio shows up. If anybody noticed, the 3 people on the panel were Bates, Jordan, and Carter. No mention of Norio. Not sitting there, but in this unscripted, let's have a panel discussion, free-flowing ideas.
Free-flowing.
Here's a soundbite from Norio, coincidentally saying exactly what we want to hear at this point in time. But the panel interview was they did not need to do it. And Jackson, like I said, you are a smart man. There was no need to see it. It was just restating everything that was said in the movie.
Well, see, we felt bad this time. We felt we had to stay because we missed the panel discussion at the end of Genesis Paradise Lost.
Well, see, that one was
we missed that one, so we had to make up for it with this one. But
you didn't miss a lot.
All right. So, what do you think, Hill? You tricked me into going to see this without even communicating with me.
Fuck you.
And without knowledge of the film. You have skills, my friend.
That's I'm
language, guys.
On one hand, I want to take credit for the skills. On the other hand, I fuck you.
All right.
Oh God, it's so difficult.
That's let's see.
Honestly, I'm sad. I'm sad I couldn't see this film. This is right up my alley.
Absolutely. Now,
and it really throws me back to a Logic video by scientist chemist John Morse Pendleton back like what was that,
I remember
4 years ago.
Yeah, that guy was such a fucking fool.
Oh God.
All right.
Good times.
Yeah. So
I got a lab coat on, so now I'm a scientist.
So the
What was it, midwife or midwife, chemist, car engineer, biologist?
Yeah, he had all kinds of credentials.
You forgot happily married.
Happily married.
Happily
that's
married.
right. He started off was like, happily married.
Happily married to his work.
He was a chemist and a mechanic. And I can't
scientist.
When he had a lab
chemist, scientist, mechanic, happily married, John Morse Pendleton.
So there was
and a resident of Mexico.
Yes, that too.
All right, so there's no need to go over in detail the completely unscripted panel discussion at the end because basically they just restated what was said in the rest of the film. At least it was short and there was no poem at the end like the last movie we went to see. Anyway, so upon departing the theater,
here it comes.
As luck would have it, I encountered some actual creationists in the wild. And it was exactly what I would have expected. Very polite, very nice people. Very, oh, look at the crazy atheist. Let's talk to him kindly, and we can.
I must say, you got very conversational after this film. You're talking to the film crew. You're talking to the creationists.
Well, I tried it. I paid like $17.
You did everything but go find and hug Eric.
I was. And hey, let's not diss Eric on this one. He had, as far as I know, he had nothing to do with this foolishness we saw tonight.
All right,
but
he gets a pass on this one. But that's
absolutely.
The only pass.
And I think he only sent the email because he had to. But
well, then it'd be a hug of comfort.
But anyway, yeah. And as for the talking to the creationists, talking to the crew at the theater, hell, I paid over $17 for this. I'm gonna get my value out of this. Any information I can leave with, I'm gonna do it. So
that's a lot.
Anyway,
that's pretty steep.
I asked. There were just two people talking, and I just came in. And I was standing near them, and I said, I apologize for horning in on your conversation. Oh no, certainly. We're just talking about the movie and all that, and I asked them their impressions and the conversation. I don't need to go over the whole conversation because you all know how it went. Nothing. They actually stayed away from talking about the movie almost altogether, except to mention that it's not a new theory, and I kind of bristled at the use of the word theory, that the UFO / extraterrestrial thing is actually demonic in nature. They mentioned that's not a new thing. Of course, I was invited to come to their club. They have a club.
Of course. I was going to ask you if they proselytize to you.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And honestly, they I was fine, and they give me their website and and
I'm surprised that you stay and talk to the audience people afterwards, because we bolted out of Genesis Paradise Lost, even though it was a
made for the hills.
Pretty crowded theater. Yeah, we bolted.
I wanted to get their views because mainly like that. Well, think about it. If you're I don't know, an epidemiologist, and you meet a bunch of people who are obviously ill. You want to take some blood samples, maybe run a few.
Study the disease.
Run a few cultures, see if there's a cure handy. And, you want to do that. But anyway, and they were talking about, stuff and things. And interestingly, the one fellow, a very good conversationalist as well, both of these gentlemen. One actually mentioned something that I definitely approved of, and I don't think he meant it that way, but he did give me a nice opening. And he said that I think he was going with the worldview argument instead of and not using the actual word, because he had said that science is really it's a philosophy. And at which point I jumped in and said, exactly. I'm glad I finally met someone who understands that science is not a book of facts somewhere that is immutable. Science is not a dogmatic thing. It is a philosophy that involves, and I went through the whole peer review thing, and which it doesn't always work, and there's money involved.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd say rather than a philosophy, at least in the sense that you're talking about, I'd rather say it's more of a method. At least in that sense.
Look, he gave me an opening. And I took it. So anyway, and I did it. He regretted it. He did. No, it was great. It was a good conversation, and
that's good.
I even had to agree. Yes, in some cases there is money involved. We're not completely fluffy and white in the science world either. Let's look at the scientists in the distant past who put out all the papers on the relative harmlessness of cigarette smoking. Yes, individual scientists can be bought. However, as a community, you can't put out crap science for long. It just does the entire process. It kind of takes care of that. It's nice and self-correcting, but just him mentioning that it was a philosophy gave me the opportunity to morph that from what he was saying into exactly the opposite of what he was saying. He was going for the worldview and preconceptions thing, but I got to say that, which was nice, and that there was no rejection of that concept. Then he told me about their group here in New Jersey and gave me the website, which I wrote down, which I will look in. I'll go talk to them. That's fine, and I'll tell all you guys about it too. But then I was almost free. I was almost on my way to Bob the Wonder Jeep and a nice trip home, and he had to bring up. And there's a lot of good information there, like the information argument. Tell me you didn't say that. And I said, that is not something you want to talk to me about. Just remember that when we talk in the future. That is a proof. Again, I speak in italics. That word proof is in italics. That is only going to work on a friendly crowd. And here's why.
You just... The best part of that argument is just asking them what they think information constitutes.
Exactly.
What part of the genome could you look at it and show me this segment right here is information?
Indeed. And
I would love to see them differentiate that. And they cannot, because they don't know, for one thing, that there's even different parts of DNA. They don't know what haplogroups are in mitochondrial DNA, if they even know there's mitochondrial DNA. They don't understand pseudogenes and ERVs and retrotransposons and all this crap.
Well,
it's more complicated than information and non-formation.
Well, it's worse than that, Jackson. They don't have a firm definition or an accurate definition for what information is. That's the real problem, is that they're saying information and assuming that a DNA strand is like a language or a code, or they'll say it's a computer program. No, it isn't. It is not. It's a molecule. Leave it alone, for God's sake. But they, it is a stream of information. But if Lord Crocosquirrel was there, he would have typed out a random string of characters on his phone and showed it to them and said, "This is also information." He did that during one of our movie nights. And
he did. Actually, again, it reminds me of something yet again, that logic did back in the day. You know, it just said something I think I've always kept this with me is that, you know, DNA is chemistry interacting chemically.
Indeed, and really the DNA strand. I mean, yes, there are pairs. Yes, we get that. But if you look at it as information, as they consider it, it's really, we'll just call it linear information. Like it's a sequence of pairs in a specific order, which seems to change every generation. There are changes, so it was perfect, is it? Nobody knows. Anyway, so that's linear information. Okay, let's talk about snowflakes, shall we? Let's take it from one dimension into two. So you saying God paints every little snowflake, are you? Anyway, it was you all know how the information discussion went, and oddly enough, I'm still invited to converse with these fine folks, and I'm not saying that facetiously. They did seem like fine folks, and they are definitely firm in their beliefs, but they did not seem to be bad people at all. Very friendly, very, wait for this part, very welcoming, very understanding.
Yeah, some Mormons pulled that on me.
Very accepting, almost like the members of that UFO religion that they mentioned during the movie. That was a Moses. That's my wrap up. They behaved exactly like they described the bad demon, alien, whatever the hell they are, when you get sucked into the UFO religion. That is exactly. There was understanding. There was welcoming.
They had a guy who I think they said was an atheist who said demonology isn't another pseudoscience-ology. This is this is the real thing.
Yes. Wait, I got notes on that too. It's let's see. Who's good at hieroglyphics in the group? I can't find it. Yes, I do recall that part. That it's not just another crackpot-ology. That's what he said. I do recall that. Demonology. Okay. Well, neither is my church. The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. It's not either. Spaghetti Monsterology is definitely not another crackpot one. Anyway.
Might I pass along a fun, obscure fact that I found while researching this film?
Oh, please do.
So this is listed amongst the film promotion as a fun fact. 1985, during the final season of the Schneider classic television series The Dukes of Hazzard, they did a goofy episode in which the Duke boys befriended a stranded ET-like alien.
Oh my God.
I do not remember that episode.
Nor do I.
No, me neither.
Wow.
But now I have to look that up because that's full circle for Bo.
You see how it's all connected?
So that was really the Duke boys being visited by a demon.
So he goes from hanging with the demons to criticizing the demons.
That's right.
That's just right.
That's not quite as perfect a circle as yours with the with the niceness religions, but
that is good to have the fun facts.
But good to have the fun facts. Now I have to look that up.
I find that I'm going to find it difficult to resist as well.
There must be some country music station that's playing the Duke Boys right now that I can look that up on.
You think? All right. Jackson, in your opinion, did we miss any major stupid in talking about this film?
Hard to tell.
The head's still swimming.
Yeah. I guess not. I don't know. I found it interesting that more than one person would have a demon/alien experience at one time. I found that interesting because the lady claimed she and her husband were both paralyzed by the demons. For the guy with the large rectal thermometer, it was just him.
And his wife was asleep.
Yeah, his wife was asleep. Right. Yeah.
Right.
And
completely unaware that her husband was being impaled.
Exactly. But with a couple, they were like, our baby was picked up, which you know, that may or may not have happened, but they at least together had this shared experience.
Indeed, I found that interesting as well. Which again is why I said, yes, something happened to these people. But you know, was it E.T.? Yeah, I tend to think not. But yes, two people reporting the same incident at the same time. I would be hard pressed to say that nothing occurred. I agree. Do I think it's demons?
I don't know. I guess I just thought the whole treatment of, and because I don't know a whole lot about Big Bang cosmology or physics in general, which is why I'm taking that class this semester, haha. But I do know a little bit about abiogenesis, and their treatment of it was atrocious. And because I thought one of the funniest things about it was they showed a modern cell going through there was like that was a translation because it was like some ribosome mRNA molecule making some amino acids, and so they're like, look at how complex this modern cell is. Clearly this is what abiogenesis produced.
Yeah, again, misrepresenting in that pool of chemicals, poof, cell. I'm pretty sure
all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure with
of course,
mitochondria,
poofing is completely absurd.
With mitochondria, which by the way were always in cells. When a cell came together, it had a completely alien structure built right in. Oh wait,
see an alien structure. See it all loops background.
I see. It's all connected. All right. Okay. How about this? A bacteria that didn't belong there to begin with. All righty.
Just got finished reading a book on abiogenesis titled "The Vital Question." It was one of the most intriguing books I've ever read.
Did it didn't involve that conical wine bottle with the alien,
no,
right? Okay.
As a matter of fact, I don't remember panspermia showing up at all in it. He was mostly talking about the bioenergetics of it, and he's talking about his past research with like oxygen and whatnot. But also, Savannah has something to add.
My favorite part of the movie was when the woman with the green scarf on that was really frilly had been talking about what opened her up to these types of attacks from demons. She said that whenever she was younger, she experimented with the occult, with Ouija boards and reading tarot. And I found that so hilarious. My family's steeped in Wicca, so my grandma's been practicing tarot and an active Wicca for most of her life. She's 75 now, and she wants nothing more than to be abducted by aliens.
So no,
my grandma would have been gone.
And yet,
some people,
some
people just have all the luck.
Yeah, so no abduction has occurred to date.
Come true.
So no abduction has occurred.
Like Mexicans, like illegal aliens or something.
That. All right. So I did. Although to be honest, she did have a note of sincerity about her story, did she not?
She did.
That's another
they
one.
Were all very emotional about it.
If I were watching any of them as a single interview, it would have made me emotional.
I don't doubt that for at least some of them, maybe all, something traumatic definitely occurred because they did not appear to be acting. They appear to be just talking during the interview. And so something occurred. Was it demons? I feel safe in saying no. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to say no. It wasn't demons. This is
the only logical explanation. Didn't you watch the movie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? I forgot that part.
Saw demons.
I forgot that part, and I even wrote that down, that this is the... Okay, you know what? Checkmate us. Demons are the only logical explanation.
I mean, I just think, like, this whole... Okay, aside from the terrible scientific arguments, their case was entirely anecdotal, which just already kind of shoots them in the foot because they have no evidence whatsoever to go off of that isn't he said, she said.
Right. Agreed. And their argument that UFOs are not aliens from another planet, star system, whatever. That there is no dichotomy there. There's no. It's either aliens from another planet or it's demons. It seemed that they were satisfied that once they felt they sufficiently disproved the possibility of interstellar travel, the only option left, demons. That's disturbingly enough. Anyway, it's a Thursday. You guys think that's enough stupid for a Thursday night?
More than enough.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
I would say. All right. Well,
thank you, Cy, for being such a trooper and attending your local cinema and seeing all this stuff, so we don't have to.
Taking one for the team.
Taken one, and you've taken several for the teams now. So
we need to make a religion around Cy's multiple sacrifices to save us.
I've always wondered this: if evolution is a religion and so is atheism, which one do we belong to?
Both.
Conflict.
Yes.
We're poly-religious.
I would ask Ken Ham, but he blocked me.
Oh wow!
He is not blocked me.
We're not polytheists, Hill. We're poly-religious.
Right.
What's the difference?
No God, but multiple religions.
Oh,
that's like the New Age stuff, isn't it? When they're like,
no. Atheism is atheism and whatever the other thing are. Those are two gods.
I see.
Yeah, evolution.
That's what it is.
Evolution is my god. Death is also
exactly.
my
That's
god.
how it works.
Whatever
we
it
probably
is.
throw technology in there too.
It's
so we have,
why not?
That's our trinity.
Oh, it's good that
it's technology.
It's good I was finally able to close the notebook and take a look at the public chat just in time for one of RJ's famous puns. He's calling my visit to the theater tonight a sacrifice.
Oh my!
Love the pun. We love the puns here. We do love the puns. All right. On that note, what do you say we wrap it up? Good enough? Anybody want to hear? Just one more time in case anybody misses it. Here's Bo again.
Damn boys.
Trust him. He's got.
Guys are at it again.
He's got some sort of derivative behind him, so we have to trust him. Clearly,
that's true.
Delta Jesus actually over his hair there, right? Delta Jesus.
He went downhill after Uncle Jesse died.
Christianity was in the math all the time.
Let's see. Delta Jesus Prime equals, and we can't see the rest of the formula. Why would they conceal? This is supposed to be the religion of truth. Why are they concealing the formula that proves it all? Disturbing.
Hey. Who else really wants to see the answer to Delta Jesus Prime?
I have God Yahweh on speed dial. Don't make me get him in here.
All right. On that note, does anyone have any additional comments on this?
I have one.
What might that be?
Why? Why the hell was this allowed to be made? Why?
I think the real question is, why was it not made sooner?
Because of First Amendment rights. That's why it was allowed to be made.
All right. Well,
I mean, why spiritually? Why?
If we didn't go to this movie, if it wasn't made, then that Kirk Cameron commercial about the war against social media wouldn't be out there for all of us to see.
That's what it is. It's just a proxy for that.
That's perfect. And
literally, the entire purpose of this movie was to get for that one commercial.
You think he'll bring up the Crocoduck again?
I hope so.
Because there's just nothing like it. Well, yeah, it's a damn good thing. Otherwise, evolution.
I mean, can you imagine it?
I can't imagine that. Don't ask me to imagine it. So many good. So many
do
good
have
references.
fun here.
That we do. All right. Well, that being the case, I would like to thank you all for attending. Jackson, thank you for also taking one for the team. Going to see this.
I figured with Savannah. I had company.
Oh, indeed. Well, thank you both for taking one for the team.
Thank you, Jackson et al.
Et al. and everybody.
Who's Al?
Shut the hell up.
And
that's who it is.
Everybody
wasn't that Sam's helper on Quantum Leap, Al?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. All right.
It was.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And on that note, I believe it is just about time to bring on the pug once again. Thank you, everybody, and good night. Let's cut that volume down a little bit, just so we don't kill anyone.
Close encounters of the pug kind.
There we go. I was going to say, guys, there's supposed to be good-natured banter at the end of these things.
Ow, my eardrums.
I'm just still enamored by Bo's dreamy eyes.
Oh, how far you have fallen.
I would go to this film if there was a spaceship painted up like the General Lee and he slid across it.
Yep.
We could make that happen.
You might break a hip doing it though.
Now, when is that space? When is that space movie? When's that space movie coming out?
Didn't you just watch it?
No. There's another one where people are on the ISS.
Oh, the other one. Yeah.
That's Star Wars. That came out already.
No, not the Star Wars one. The other one. The one that you suggested we watched the trailer for that one time.
Oh, that one.
Where they're gonna save the ISS based on the science in the Bible. That one.
Yeah. That's. Oh, yeah. Summer.
Has that been crowdfunded?
No, they're still crowdfunding that one. Yeah, there's no release date.
Oh heck.
All right. Well, I'm gonna head off. I will. I'll see you guys on flip side. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for seeing that hard film.
Wait. So they're gonna make a movie about saving the ISS from the Bible.
Yes. Apparently, there's all kinds of sciencey stuff in the Bible, and that's gonna tell them how to. Maybe they're gonna pray it into a higher orbit. I don't know.
It's kind of like the apocalypse is happening, and they save it, and they have to save the Earth from the ISS with the Bible.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
Something along those lines.
Do they use it to like fucking for like an unstable table or something? They use it as a shim or what?
I'm not. Who knows?
The lines in the trailer for the line is, "If there's any scientific truth in that Bible of yours, now's the time to pull it out."
Well, sorry, there isn't.
Wow. They've got a freaking Death Star laser. It's fucking Death Star laser the Earth from the ISS. Bible knowledge.
If anyone, I'll try and find that trailer. You can DM me if you need the
cool.
The link.
All right. Good night, all.
Good night.